Hello there, good evening ladies and gentlemen. This is the L24 World News streaming live from the capital Algiers, and coming up next in our news program. Algeria has been intensely elected on Tuesday as member of the United Nations Human Rights Council for the period 2023-2025. The European Union's Energy Commissioner hailed a long-term strategic partnership with Algeria Tuesday as the bloc turns to Africa's biggest gas exporter to fill a gap left by the Russian supplies. Air raid sirens are sounding out across multiple regions in Ukraine again on Tuesday, with the emergency services warning of more Russian strikes. Hello again and welcome. I'm your host Abdulrahim Kashour, and today's were top stories. Starting from Algeria, President of the Republic of the Comoros, Othman Al-Ghazali, confirmed his personal participation in the Arab Summit to be held on the 1st and 2nd of November in Algeria. This came after receiving the official invitation addressed to him by the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, delivered to him by the Algerian Minister of Tourism, Yassine Hamadi. Algeria was today duly elected as a member of the Human Rights Council for the term 2023-2025 with a total of 178 votes in recognition for its significance in the region and its defense of principles and values of human rights worldwide. Algeria will be able to work to promote and protect human rights throughout the world after joining the Human Rights Council for the third time since its founding in 2006. This will also confirm Algeria's deserving position in the international community and strengthen its application for a non-permanent seat on the Security Council.
The following 14 states have thus been elected members of the Human Rights Council for the three-year term of the office beginning of 1st of January 2023. Algeria, Bangladesh, Belgium, Chile, Costa Rica, Georgia, Germany, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Morocco, Romania, South Africa, Sudan, and Vietnam. I congratulate the states which have elected members, which have been elected members of the Human Rights Council, and I thank the tellers for their assistance in this election.
The annual UN report on Western Sahara, which will be presented to the UN Security Council next Thursday, included compelling facts proving that American occupation forces' involvement in grave crimes and violations against Sahrawi civilians. It also referred to the progress of the Sahrawi Liberation Army and its targeting of its camp of the Moroccan occupation's soldiers. A group of Sahrawi and Spanish activists, as well as regional organizations supporting the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination, launched a campaign against the position of Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish Prime Minister, who turned against international legitimacy. Zahra Farjani tackled the story in this report.
Western Sahara is not for sale. This is the slogan of a media campaign launched by young Sahrawi and Spaniards in order to sensitize Spanish public opinion about the seriousness of the new decision of their Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez against the international legitimacy of the Sahrawi cause. The campaign, which was launched on Twitter by the Sahrawi Central Directorate of the Information and Research Studies and the unions of the Sahrawi students and youth, received a wide audience. It aims at raising awareness of Spanish public opinion about the negative impact of the unexpected decision of Sanchez regarding the conflict in Western Sahara. The organizers called on the Spanish government to correct the decision, which supports the proposal of the Moroccan occupation state. The campaign comes also to express its condemnation of this decision, considering it a betrayal of the Sahrawi people and to remind Spain of its historical responsibility towards Western Sahara.
After the invitation of the Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune to the Palestinian factions for the gathering in Algeria for dialogue, Palestinian ambassador to Algeria confirmed that all factions are ready for considering the Algerian concern for the Palestinian cause. The gathering and dialogue, which is scheduled in a sensitive period, is meant to find a radical solution for the Palestinian cause and will work on unifying Palestinian people as well as resistance factions in Palestine. This morning, group of Zionist settlers raided Al-Aqsa Mosque courtyard while Zionist occupation forces barred worshippers and Al-Murabitun from entering. A guard of Al-Mosque confirmed the occupation forces stationed at the gates of Al-Aqsa prevented those under the age of 40 from entering to pray in. And now for more and better information, I'm joined live by Abdel Hamid Siam, Professor of Political Science at Rutgers University in New Jersey. Mr. Siam, hello over there.
Hello, sir.
So Siam, how do you take this initiative of Algeria in regrouping the Palestinian resistance factions?
Thank you for the invitation. My warmest regard to you and to the Algerian people and to the Algerian government. I know, and the Palestinian people know, that the Algerians are so much concerned about the division among the Palestinians. No other Arab country is concerned as much as Algeria. And they have the most sincere intentions to bring the Palestinians together, especially right before the Arab Summit meeting, which will start on November 1st and November 2nd. So nothing can be better for Algeria and for the Palestinians more than to bring them together over one single program and show of unity, to bring their message to the Arab countries, who many of them started to, open channels with the Zionist entity. So nothing more impressive on the summit more than a one unified Palestinian program and a voice. That is not to say that it's something easy, it's difficult, but no country can do that better than Algeria. And I hope the Algerian efforts led by the president, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, will succeed.
Mr. Siam, I'm sorry to cut your train of thought. Let us say that Algeria succeeded to gather these factions. So what is the expectation that we can see from this gathering?
I think the Arab summits have been for so many years, many Arab people lost faith in the institution of the Arab League and the Arab Summit. But here there is an opportunity. Algeria says that we want to bring the Arab back together. There is an opportunity. As we see, the world is divided between those fighting in Ukraine and those countries in East and West. Now it's an opportune time for the Arab world to come together. So let's start anew from Algeria, the country that has excellent relation with most, if not all, Arab countries. They are qualified to do it. They have no relation with the Zionist entity. They are trying to bring Arab world around one main theme, which is to support the Palestinian people and to leave the points of division among Arab countries aside and come together on the issues that all Arabs agree on. For example, energy, for example, national security, having one voice of the Arab world away from division, trying to resist regional influence on the Arabs. So all these issues could come up in this summit meeting. And Algeria, as I said, it's qualified to bring these issues and bring the Arab world around these issues, first and foremost is the Palestinian question.
Mr. Siam from New Jersey, thank you ever so much for taking part with us.
Thank you, sir.
Now to the same matter, the Zionist entity announced on Tuesday that it has concluded a historic agreement with Lebanon to define the maritime border and remove obstacles to the exploitation gas critics in the eastern Mediterranean. The agreement came after intense negotiations with mediation conducted by the United States. Leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said in a televised speech that Hezbollah will support the agreement with the Zionist regime if it is officially approved by the Lebanese government.
We support the Lebanese state on the issue of the Lebanese demands. The key point for us is when the Lebanese leaders within the framework of the Lebanese state will say that this arrangement or agreement meets the official demands of the Lebanese state. So it's good for us. We have no problem.
To opening the Russia-Ukraine fire, Russia continue on its missile strikes over Ukrainian cities, including Kiev, after explosions that occurred in the critical bridge in Crimea. Islam Seed.
Russia's armed forces continued its most widespread strikes on Ukraine's major cities in what President Vladimir Putin called a deterrence and revenge against a bridge explosion in Crimea. The missile attacks had targeted military facilities and the energy system as well.
Through its actions, the Kiev regime has de facto aligned itself with international terrorist establishments, with the most heinous groups. Leaving such crimes unanswered is simply no longer possible.
Today, the armed forces of the Russian Federation continue to deliver a massive strike with air and sea-based long-range precision weapons against military command and control facilities, as well as the energy system of Ukraine. The goal of the strike has been reached. All assigned objects were hit.
Explosions were reported in Dnipro and Kremenchuk in central Ukraine, Lviv, Ternopil and Zhytomyr in the west, Zaporizhia in the south and Kharkiv in the east. 19 people were killed and more than 100 were wounded. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on G7 group to help create an air shield capable of stopping the Russian strikes on his country that have multiplied over the past 2 days.
I ask you to strengthen the overall efforts to financially support the creation of an air shield for Ukraine. Millions of people will be grateful to the G7 for such an assistance.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the Russian shelling in Ukraine is a sign of weakness by Moscow, which is losing on the battlefield. Russia says it will respond to Western involvement in Ukraine after the United States pledged more military aid to Kiev.
I think what we saw yesterday is actually a sign of weakness, because the reality is that they are not able to make progress on the battlefield. Russia is actually losing on the battlefield.
Dozens of demonstrators in Romania, Italy and Australia, including Ukrainians who fled their country, took the streets and even gathered in front of Russian embassies in cities like Rome, shouting and protesting against the Russian missile strikes. The unleashed cruise missiles fired from air, land and sea were the biggest wave of airstrikes ever to hit locations away from the front line, at least since the first volleys on the first day of the conflict.
In the same line of thought, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he is open to dialogue with the International Atomic Energy Agency on the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant after his meeting with the IAEA chief Rafael Grossi, who expressed concerns over nuclear security problems.
Since we do have issues that have to do with the nuclear safety, the nuclear security, in particular of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. And as you know, I have been displaying efforts to try to avoid a nuclear accident that could be very detrimental in general terms and in particular in the region. So
we are very pleased to see you and look forward to discussing any issues of mutual interest, for example regarding the situation around the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. In any case, we're open to this dialogue and we're happy to see you. There are limits of excessively dangerous lobbying of all aspects of nuclear activity today. We very much hope that thanks to your efforts, we will be able to reduce any rhetoric on this subject and bring this area of our activity and cooperation back to a normal state. despite all the tumult and complex processes taking place on the world stage.
At the outset, the Algerian Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdulrahman offered the Europeans a comprehensive energy partnership to raise Algeria's production of gas and ensure energy security for both parties. Usama Ayadi.
Energy partnership between Algeria and the European Union is witnessing today the birth of a new form of cooperation. Algeria has proposed a comprehensive plan based on the traditional framework, which was restricted to natural gas supplies, to expand now to the fields of renewable and green energies.
An open, organized and honest dialogue on energy issues would contribute effectively to achieving great progress between the two parties to make this rapprochement cooperation possible, feasible and comprehensive in all aspects related to the energy, and not only limited to the activity of hydrocarbons.
Algeria has linked the success of its partnership with a set of cooperation fields, foremost of which is the principle of exchanging energy supply for investment, as well as the promotion of technical and scientific cooperation and the development of oil and gas industry in areas that guarantee sustainable energy security for both parties.
For this cooperation in the field of energy to be beneficial to all, ensuring energy security for each other and allowing social and economic development for all, there should also be a comprehensive approach whose main axes include reinforcing investments, especially in the field of oil and gas exploration, in order to develop our great underground potentials.
The Algerian vision has always been comprehensive. It meets the European Union's new old demand to increase Algeria's gas supplies with a long-term trend. The European bloc described Algeria as a reliable partner and expressed its readiness to pump more investments in the energy field in Algeria.
But now it's time to look to the future. That means finding solutions for the two aspects we now lack in the EU energy system: a significant supply of gas that needs to be replaced, and a reliable international energy partners. And we believe in Algeria we have found both. We believe, however, this is...
Regardless of the circumstances, Algeria pleads in its partnership with the European Union to be based on common profit and integration of roles, and on the basis of defining results and goals from the outset.
Still with the Algerian Prime Minister, Mr. Ayman bin Abdulrahman, in a speech he delivered at the opening of the Algerian European Business Forum on Energy, described the completion of the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline as a strategic option for energy security in Europe.
Algeria is working hard in the field of gas to reinforce its cooperation with its economic partners, especially in the best exploitation of its gas infrastructure, through reviving the project of gas pipeline TSGP, which crosses the Sahara and links Nigeria to Europe, going through Niger and Algeria, and which is a strategic choice that guarantees our energy security, as well as the European one.
Mohamed Arqab confirmed that the high-tension electricity line project, which would transport energy from Algeria to Europe by Italy, is under consideration and would enable it to compete on a global scale in the production and marketing of electricity.
We talked about how Algeria became a significant electricity producing country with important amounts of electricity, and this allows to enter the international and global markets, especially the European one. We must have an electricity link of high tension lines through the Mediterranean to Europe. This project is of vital importance for both parties to develop energy cooperation, which is still underway.
And now for more international news, let's follow this roundup.
Canada will deploy approximately 40 combat engineers to NATO ally Poland to train Ukrainian sappers in demining, engineer rocket assaults and explosives. At a briefing alongside her Polish counterpart, Anna said Canadian efforts would complement training that Canada is already giving to Ukrainians in the UK. Anna also signed a memorandum of understanding to strengthen defense cooperation between Poland and Canada.
This new training under Operation Unifier will complement Canadian training of new Ukrainian recruits in the United Kingdom and Canadian training of Ukrainian personnel on the use of the M777 howitzers that we donated to Ukraine.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Tuesday that the 30-nation military alliance will hold long-planned exercises next week to test the state of readiness of its nuclear capabilities. Stoltenberg stressed that they were closely monitoring Russia's nuclear forces and haven't witnessed any changes in Russia's posture, but vigilance was a must.
Russia knows that the nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. We are closely monitoring Russia's nuclear forces. We have not seen any changes in Russia's posture, but we remain vigilant.
The world economy, shaken by repeated shocks for a year, is getting closer to recession, which could affect several developed countries in 2023. The IMF warned on the occasion of the publication of its autumn report on the economy.
In the United States, the tightening of monetary and financial conditions will slow growth to 1% in 2023. In China, we have lowered next year's growth forecast to 4.4% due to a weakening property sector and continued lockdowns.
Neighbors and rescuers helped in the search mission of missing people in Las Tahirias, Venezuela, after a devastating landslide left at least 36 people and 56 missing. Chileans demonstrated outside Congress in Valparaiso as the South American country's Senate votes on whether to approve the comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Protesters held banners saying the deal would undermine the country's sovereignty and could harm the environment.
British Museum is holding an exhibition to mark the 200th anniversary of decoding hieroglyphs of pharaohs by Jean-François Champollion.
A new exhibition featuring the Rosetta Stone debuts at the British Museum on Thursday to commemorate one of the most important moments in Egyptology, the 200th anniversary of the French scholar who broke the hieroglyph code and deciphered the Rosetta Stone. The exhibition opens at a time when some Egyptologists are pressuring the British Museum to return the Rosetta Stone to Cairo, and UK institutions are starting to return artifacts looted during the colonial era to other countries.
So it was 200 years ago in 1822 when Jean-François Champollion read his famous dossier letter in which he revealed how to read Egyptian hieroglyphs. And one of the important keys in this decipherment was the Rosetta Stone. And since we have the Rosetta Stone in our collection, we thought it was a good moment to celebrate ancient Egypt, the ancient civilization, and a bit of our new research also, what we know now about ancient Egypt, since we can read hieroglyphs.
Before philologist Jean-François Champollion deciphered the meaning of Egyptian hieroglyphs in 1822, they were once thought to be magical symbols and related to spoken language.
The Rosetta Stone has the same text in 3 different scripts, and the lower part is ancient Greek, which is a language and a script that was known in 1799 when the Rosetta Stone was discovered. And immediately there was the hope that because of the ancient Greek, scholars would have been able to decipher the 2 Egyptian scripts. So we have hieroglyphs and the middle part is Demotic, but they both represent the ancient Egyptian spoken language.
The stone was found in the walls of Egyptian fort by French troops in 1799, and they gave it to British forces as part of a surrender deal. It has been on display at the British Museum since 1802.
Coming up to Champions League, Nice Chelsea took a comfortable 2-0 win over 10-man AC Milan at the San Siro, moving the Blues into the top spot of the Champions League Group E, whereas in the Group F, Antonio Rudiger equalized in injury time on Tuesday to rescue a 1-1 draw for Real Madrid at Shakhtar Donetsk and secure spot for the defending champions in the Champions League knockout stage. And as you can see, tonight's result as follows in this table. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a reminder for our main top stories. Algeria has been brilliantly or intensely elected on Tuesday as member of the United Nations Human Rights Council for the period 2023-2025. European Union's Energy Commissioner hailed a long-term strategic partnership with Algeria Tuesday as the bloc turns to Africa's biggest gas exporter to fill gap left by Russian supplies. Air raid sirens are sounding out across multiple regions in Ukraine again on Tuesday, with the emergency services warning of more Russian strikes. That's all we have so far for now. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. For now, all I can say, good night.